wake up in the morning, only God did that. Brought me through the storm, only God did that. The devil thought he had me, but God brought me back. Was blessed from the beginning where it started at. Oh, oh, I'm like God did that. Oh, oh.
Come on in. Come on in.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Come on.
We're live.
There's a blessing in the room today.
Location.
Uh-huh.
I think there's a blessing in the room tonight, and it's got your name on it.
Come on.
Listen, we're so glad that you're with us tonight, hanging out with us.
Yes.
We are here. We are the Pulpit Podcast for the preachers.
By the preachers.
Listen, I'm here with Pastor Josh. We here with the troublemaker D-Moy. I'm Pastor J. And listen, we're going to have a good time tonight. Listen, go ahead and share and like and let
Yes.
somebody know that you're watching.
Be an
We're going to need
evangelist.
your amens tonight in the comments. We're going to have a great conversation. But before we have a conversation, I need to know what song this week has been on your heart.
Listen, I don't usually do this, and I don't know what you may be dealing with tonight, but I just want to encourage your heart. Song says, it won't always be like this. The Lord will perfect that concerning thee. Sooner or later,
Yeah.
it's going to turn in your favor.
Yeah.
It's turning around for you. Around for you.
Yeah.
Around for you.
Yeah.
I rushed it. It's turning around for you. Y'all want to sing it with me?
Yeah, go to the top.
It won't always be like this. The Lord will perfect that concerning me. Sooner or later, turn in my favor. It's turning around for me. Around for me. Around for me. Around for me. It's turning around for me.
Around for me.
Come on.
Around for
Yeah.
me.
Around for me.
Around for me.
Around for me. It's turning around for me.
Listen, let this be an encouragement to somebody watching.
Come on.
Maybe having a rough day, a rough weekend, a rough week, that God can still turn some things
Ain't
around.
no need of worrying
Uh-oh.
what tomorrow's gonna bring.
Yeah.
Why?
It'll be all over in the morning.
Yeah.
Scripture says, weeping
Weeping.
might endure
Huh? I feel a shift.
for a night,
But joy.
but joy
Cometh.
comes in the, even if he doesn't do it, that don't mean he ain't able to do
Come
it.
on.
Yeah.
Listen, be encouraged tonight. We want to welcome you. Listen, we're going to have a great time tonight, as we always do. We're going to have some good conversations tonight. And so I want to turn it over to D Moore. He's going to lead us tonight as we wrestle and grapple with some things.
Yes, buckle up, put your seatbelt on. We are well aware in the climate of this podcast and the looming in the backdrop has been a trending critique of stereotypical church that we want to talk about tonight. It was in the Gospel according to Matthew, around chapter 16, that he decided to let us eavesdrop on a conversation where Jesus seemingly warns his followers, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees that
Set it up.
give the appearance of worship, but only want you to just see them worship, but they don't really have a inward surrender to the lordship of Jesus Christ or for their surrender to God. They give the appearance of church, but don't really have church in their hearts. And I want to ask the question tonight, are we normalizing yeast? Are we normalizing public appearance over inward transformation? And we see that even in that same chapter, Peter, we love Peter, he asked him, who do you say I am?
Yeah.
After a back and forth, Peter says, you are the Christ,
Thou art the Christ.
Son of the living God. Flesh and blood did not reveal this unto you, Peter. So it was revealed to you from my Father. And on this rock, I'll build my church, my ecclesia,
Yeah, yeah.
And
and the gates of hell
shall not.
So I want to have the conversation about whether we are living and building the model around the revelation of Jesus Christ and discipleship, or are we building the model around the yeast of the Pharisees? Are we building the model around public appearance and experience over inward transformation and discipleship? And I know, I think this issue came up months ago when we had an influencer who spent considerable resources, made a lot of money too, offering a satire of what he believed to be the worst of mega church experience. You had the pastor in Louis Vuitton, Christian Louis Vuittons with the blood on his feet, and flying through the air, which, you know, we love who it came from. He didn't mean it. He meant well. And fleecing the sheep for money, but not willing to pray with them. One scene that struck me from the video was there was a widowed man.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was widowed or his wife was sick. And he sent after church, the pastor pulls up in his Rolls Royce and he tries to catch the pastor. He says, "Man, can you pray for me? My wife is dealing with this, this, and that. I just need prayer. I know you're on your way out." Drewski, knowing what he was trying to raise, looks at him in his Rolls Royce and said, "Are you a tither?" And, you know, with explicit language says, "Man, if you don't get away from my car," because the man was perceived not to be a big tither.
Mercy.
While we were all outraged by that, it shouldn't have been surprised because we've had people critique the church plenty of times. But if you're truly on mission, you should have found the video funny but not convicting. Now, if you were off mission, then you probably got upset.
Well,
And so tonight, I just want to talk about that because there are those who believe that that is the church. There are those that believe that that is what church offers, is a money-hungry pastor, even though a majority of churches are not cash cows.
Right.
So I want to lift up that tonight. I feel like it's a responsible thing to do
yeah.
in this climate. It's for us to wrestle with that as people who are active in ministry and leadership and ordained in this space, in this climate. What does that look like? What is a small church versus big church? So Josh, I want to ask you, because you have the unique lens of seeing it from a different perspective, in a non-traditional, more contemporary space. So I think we're all aiming to have a worship experience like yours, right? That's reflective of society. What's the context of your church? And do you see other churches trying to fit the wrong context into their church?
Man, yeah, I think so. The context of, and really good way of bringing us in, right? Because, you know, churches can look like, for folks who are not attending them and are non-believers, they can look like these big old sacred mausoleums that you just drive by and you can easily throw the stone at without knowing what's happening within those walls and without knowing the lives that are making that ministry possible. And so the context of the Gaithersburg Presbyterian Church is, you know, in a lot of ways, we're a relatively young congregation for a Presbyterian church, just over 60 years old, about 63, 64 years old. It was a church plant out in the mid-'60s, and it was initially populated by a number of government workers, right, who were moving to the suburbs, a lot of federal workers, and over the years has continued to change to reflect the broader Montgomery County, right? And so the way that we get 33 different ethnicities in that congregation is in part because the larger community is so diverse. And we bring it through the international missions of the Presbyterian Church, that when folks arrive now in the United States, they have been introduced to the Presbyterian model and now find a congregation that reflects that now that they're in the U.S. But the context, they are faithful folks. They're professionals, they're retirees, they are young millennials and older Gen Z that are trying to figure it out, right? I got a good chunk of a handful of my young adults who are dealing with the fact that the economy is moving so quickly that they done graduated with degrees specialized in software or computer systems, and it's changed so much that they're still trying to find a foothold, right, in the economy. And then I got retirees who went and worked 30, 40 plus odd years for the federal government that are living relatively comfortably and trying to figure out how they be faithful with their finances as they move into this next chapter of their life. And they are folks who take their discipleship of Jesus Christ seriously. Yeah. And so what drew me to the church was that for years, their commitment has been 10% of their operating budget goes to missions locally and globally, right? So 10% of our operating budget goes, it's kind of a 50-50 split to local mission and global mission. And that's part of the DNA and identity of the church. And that's sacrosanct. And so every time we look at that budget, if we're not hitting near about 10%, and it might drop from 9.8, 9.7 sometimes, but that around that number is a part of what it means for them to be GPC. And so the context that I'm walking into is one of faithfulness, one of not afraid of change, but really want to be deliberate and intentional about how they change. Right? We're going to talk through it. We're a deliberative denomination anyhow. And so when I think about what's happened with Drewski, right? Wasn't no skin off my back because that's not my church. Right. I wear Chucks in the pulpit most times unless it's Communion Sunday. I'm going to robe up. I don't got red bottoms. Don't like red bottoms. I might get a little glasses fancy every now and again. But these are regular people who are trying their best to faithfully follow God. No one's in it for the money, right? Folks are in it to proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ to a world that needs to hear it.
Right. So you don't have Rolls Royce or anything?
I ain't got no Rolls Royce. Man, that Impala, I got me a Chevy Impala that needs a new side mirror.
Yeah.
Mercy.
And I keep it in the garage because I ain't trying to have nobody judge me.
Right. That's what, I guess that was my biggest thing was these social media prophets that, bless their heart, they're so educated. They're just amazing. that suddenly became experts in the church and they were just going in and you're sitting back like, man, that's not the majority of most people's experience at their churches. And so this is the 1% of the 1% of the 1% that has a pastor that even can afford $2,000 shoes. And
he or she probably has multiple streams of income.
Right. I mean, bivocational ministry is a thing. And so now I will say my critique of that, since we just having real talk, and I love y'all, but if you're asking us to go in above and beneath our tithe, and you rocking the latest Gucci Adidas collab suit and shoes, and that's easily $10,000. Of course, we're gonna be like, Bishop.
Something's off.
Are we hurting? Because you got the Gucci exclusive suit with the stripes on it. We know that's at least 5 racks.
Here's the other piece, though. Right?
Is it wrong for me to be like that, though? Is it wrong for me to be like, yo?
Well, no, because big church, small church, either way, one of the core has to be trust and accountability.
Yeah. That part.
Right? If we are in community together glorifying God, then no matter what your denominational structure is, there has to be some form of accountability. So whether that's a congregational meeting, right, once a year, or if that's like the Presbyterian church, everything is public, right? And so you have to be able to give an accounting, and there has to be a vote on it, right? So that if folks are lording it over, right, if there's a leader that's kind of lording it over the church without any form of accountability, you are out of order.
Yeah.
And that's how you get to a skit where the pastor can be running roughshod over the congregation because there are no backstops.
Right. You also have these leaders that treat their church like, y'all know me.
Let it out. Go on, let it out.
The church is not your small business, okay? You're not LLCing your church, okay? So we're not gonna keep owners using accounting term. Stop owners drawing the people's tithes. That's if you have a salary, have a salary. It's not owners draw.
It needs to be approved by the board.
That has to be approved.
The elders, the deacons,
the elders
somebody
should be approving your salary.
Your housing allowance.
It's not something that you should take the tithe and say, let me get 10% for me. And it's not how that works, man of God. And so we want you to be with your family. So
I think the interesting thing about that skit, and you just kind of alluded to it, a church that the critique that he was giving, Drewski, was on the mega church. A mega church, like you said, is only 0.5% of all churches in America.
Yeah.
Literally.
I live in Memphis. There are, by some accounts, somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 churches. There are maybe 10 that would be considered mega. Based on the number of people that are attending and budget size, which means that the other 3,000 to 4,000 are not mega. And so I think what we have is a critique of something that is in the minority. So that's one angle of it. But we also have a critique of something that those who are striving and desire to be, it's not even something that you more than likely are going to be able to obtain anyway. It's not realistic. And so I think what I would love to see, and maybe that's a project for us for another day, is on the flip side of the Drewski conversation, like we should be profiling churches doing, as you said, right? St. Paul's the same way. Like Dr. Davis is very clear. We tithe the tithe. 10% of what we do is going back to serve the greater community as a whole. We feed 20,000 people, 20,000 families a year through a food pantry. We have a Sunday every September where every dollar that comes in goes back out the door to minority led nonprofits in the community, right? But some years that can be turned into a big news story. Most years it's not, right? And so what we have is more often than not, churches are not being profiled for doing the right things.
Yeah.
We're only going to critique the things that we find an issue with. And typically our issue is rooted in insecurity and what God has blessed us with. I think about something that Apostle Brandon Clack said, something to the effect that we get frustrated by this nature of God has only blessed me with 75 members. That's 75 more members than you deserve in the first place.
Come on.
And so you have to steward that church in its appropriate context, which means I shouldn't be trying to have a mega church in the middle of rural Mississippi, because that's not going to make no sense when I got a church full of farmers and, agricultural working people, right? And so I think that became the part of the conversation that I think we missed, was he's only critiquing something that is in the super hyper minority.
Yeah, I mean, first off the frames, Reverend, I don't know what God is doing in your life, but something's happening on your face here. Look all right, Reverend.
Appreciate you.
So my issue is this. First, let me first deal with the comment section. I'm like an usher too, so I'm a comment usher. Before you do your rage comment, just hear clearly what we're saying. Majority of churches don't have a pimp pastor. Okay, so that's not the. So if you're gonna give your rage comment, you can give it because I like the engagement. We're not validating in any way a prosperity, money hungry driven pastor, and that is not actually the majority of churches by virtue of the facts. That is not. Let me say this real clear before anybody, before they get back at you for commenting in a rage way. Let me say it real clearly, because if you comment now, I'm saying clearly, the majority of churches are not led by pimp, prosperity driven, money hungry pastors. That is not the model. And so whoever is perpetuating, because I saw a lot of those comments too. I'm like, that's not actually real facts. It's not a thing.
And to your point, one of the pastors that he critiqued is one of the most generous pastors in the country.
Literally.
Like gives away hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally in Memphis, in the greater Memphis area in December. He gives away money, $1,000 every day to a random person in the community. And that's just in December. That particular pastor calls every one of his members. He's got like 10,000 of them. Every one of his members on their birthday, right? We know these things because we've seen the work. But when you're only watching it as a drive-by on the internet, and again, let's just be frank. The church gave Drewski the content to be able to make that video. But he's a comedian.
That's what he do.
That's what he does. And so we can't be offended when we gave someone content, but content without context leaves you with a con.
Wait a minute. Wait, slow down, Reverend. Wait a minute. Say that one more time.
Content without context leaves you with a con. That's not just in this situation. If you preach without context, you're going to be left
Conning the people.
with a con as well. Yeah. But in this situation, I think we're left missing some things because we haven't done the appropriate work. That's that good word again, exegesis.
Come on.
They was in the comments talking about what that word meant
Help
as
the
well.
people. Go ahead.
It's a deep understanding, a deep studying of whatever we're talking about, right? So if you don't do the exegesis of that particular church context, so if I live in Beverly Hills, in an area where everyone that attends my church is a multimillionaire, odds are my pastor is also going to be a millionaire. I'm not going to the church where the pastor is broke.
Right.
If I am a multimillionaire, that is the context by which I live, breathe, and have my being, right? But if I live in an agricultural area, the pastor showing up wearing red bottoms and Louis Vuitton, I might find that offensive.
That's not the context.
Because that's not the context with which we serve, right? You got to understand what's going on.
That part.
And that's the piece, and I don't want to try to say it carefully because I don't want it to sound like a sense of blame, right? But if a pastor can only get away with so much, right? And so if you are in a situation where the pastor feels more like a performer than a pastor, right? Is it that this pastor is just out of control and isn't being held accountable? Perhaps and probably. But also, are they being enabled by a culture that refuses to be like, you know what, Doc, I don't, like when we talk about context of the church, right? Here's one thing that happened at GPC back in January, right? During that big snowstorm everyone got, that taught me so much about the context of the church. They have this little free pantry, just a cabinet, you can walk up, canned goods, whatnot, whatever. You're just trying to address a moment in time gap for food insecurity that's emerging in Gaithersburg. They are doggedly committed to this little free pantry to the point where I had heard that they had made bags up throughout the week and were going to try to come to the church to stock the pantry during the snowstorm to make sure that it didn't go empty. And I had to say, you know what? I see that faithfulness. Please stay home because I want you safe. I'm across the street. I will go and happily stock the food pantry. And I went over there, and it was the best thing I did that week because it helped me to see the faithfulness of these folks and what matters to them. If I show up in red bottoms, if I show up talking about there are 50 persons in the room that God has told me has a $10,000 seat and we're moving quickly, I will be out of that church.
My God, don't start calling out credit card numbers.
Oh my. Right. That was awkward.
It is getting awkward. But it's like the context of that church will only allow me to do so much.
Yeah.
And there's a red line, right, that you ought to bump up against at some point. That's a check on this relationship between pastor and people because it is a relationship and it's mutual.
Yeah, I struggle with the prophetic public seed offering. I just don't, I can't find it in the text. I literally can't. I understand Elijah in private challenges the widow, right? Like, but where do we see credit card declarations?
Well, listen, we just gonna keep it funky, or we not?
I mean,
we know what that's about. People got bills to pay.
Yeah.
We had a conference. We didn't make the budget.
Yeah.
I know such and such can raise an offering.
So I put them up.
So before we came out the back, how much we need to raise so that we can, it just is what it is in most, not in every case.
Or we can register people properly and develop a proper
Or we can budget appropriately.
Come on.
And not invite people who are out of our budget level.
And stop being impulsive and trying to
you be honest with said evangelists and say, listen, I know you want 10, I got 2.
Right.
What can we do?
Whatever. You got to be honest. And so that puts us in, again, some of those spaces where we find ourselves doing things that Drewski was talking about. We're living above our means. That ain't a personal thing. That's a church-wide organizational. We have a stewardship problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so we find ourselves living above the means that God has provided for us.
Right. But that's my pet peeve. I find so many small churches trying to operate like big churches. Like even in the way they do the aesthetics. I'll leave the LED walls alone. I've talked enough about you hurting the old people's eyes. But we do have to acknowledge, I struggle with, it's hard, it just hurts my heart to see a smaller church trying to aesthetically be a bigger church. Like for me, Life Table, they'll tell you, I was jumping up for joy that we had 50 people follow us. I was like, man, dude, hey, somebody's paying attention. 100 followers, but you couldn't tell me nothing. And even now, I'm like, who gonna show up? You know, with us really rolling out live events, I'm nervous. But if 5 people, I'm gonna have a good time because that's 5 people that didn't have to show up. Yeah. But I don't think that's the larger mentality. I think we have this weird numbers validation thing that leaves a lot of leaders insecure and aborting stuff that shouldn't probably be aborted. You know what I'm saying?
And
so how do we deal with that?
I was gonna say, and before your question, and when we do that, now we've gone to this small church, we have invalidated the things, the gifts, the talents, their worship. So now I have brought in a fully paid band and singers. Again, I ain't got no issue with that if that's your context. But in a small church context, not the context, we're going to bring in singers so now we've invalidated the experience of that church for the past 20 years.
Right.
Again, we talk about change on either the last episode or the episode before that, right? Instead of making changes incrementally,
right,
we just end up bringing in 2 tenors, 2 sopranos, 2 altos, a lead guitar.
And they gigging.
They over here, they not members, they gigging. They know nothing about the culture of the house.
They just want a church.
Honestly, the church would have been fine with a good piano.
Man.
Good piano.
Man.
And somebody over there just pinging away and a banjo.
Man, you could have church like that.
Listen.
Good church.
A washboard.
That's where I grew up. A good washboard.
And we've changed the entire culture of something that wasn't even meant to be.
Because think about this. Here's what I say. And this is me literally saying, and I'm in the middle of doing it. I'm going to be fully transparent with Life Table. I do believe that the church at large is going to be maverick music. What do we mean, D? Let's think about this. Everybody was thinking big pomp and circumstance concert. What did maverick music do? Is it maverick? It's maverick music. They living room, 5 of us, 1 camera,
and it exploded,
and it went crazy. And from that, they're selling out. I just think that there is a hunger for a lot of people of just stripped down, just authentic experience. You feel what I'm saying?
Like, and I think let's go back to the last conversation about relevancy, right? The only difference, again, it's not my quote, but the only difference between a small church and a big church in reality is that this is a church that a whole lot of people like.
That's it.
That's it.
That's literally
and it. So we've got to be careful when we see them doing all these things. Like, no, God, again, it's back to the hymn. You serve in the present age, but you're also serving those people. But we get so caught up in Instagram culture that, again, we're doing stuff that our house is not designed for.
That part. It's
not designed for that. And so I've seen some churches who are established houses take the LED wall down.
They should. I get that completely.
Took it down.
Give me the car stand back.
Why? Because I got a whole bunch of people who want to sing in the choir. They ain't got nowhere to fit.
Yeah, don't fit. I don't need the 90-inch in the middle of the pulpit. Like this.
You got a 12-foot LED wall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think we've got to go, this whole conversation about big church, small church, old church, new church, I think, again, we've got to be, what is relevant? We got to be asking the right questions. What is relevant and what is sustainable in the culture that you were called to serve?
So what is needed, right? And what is needed in your culture,
what are the needs?
Right? What is the gap that your church is filling?
Called to fill. Yep.
That is my prayer.
I know we got to go. You said something the other day about the fact that there are so many churches, which means that on the same street, there's a 500 attendee church across the street from a 75-person church, down the street from a 1,000-person church. And somehow or another, they feel like they have a different context. Reality is, y'all on the same street. The context
is the community.
Is that community. You just, again, might have more of them in your building. And so there's some opportunities there as well for some collaboration.
Here's what and this is take-home truth, okay? We'll wrap it up here. This is a good place to wrap it up. Take-home truth is change is inevitable. And I think Bishop Jakes, before he retired, said something profound. He said, if you are not relevant, you do not exist.
That's it.
And so the reality is the relevancy of some of your houses of worship will be lost. And you have a choice to make, right? You have a choice to say, am I more relevant in this little corner, or should me and the church across the street come together and offer a more relevant, more resourceful solution at large for this community? Now, it takes a lot of humility to say that, but mergers and acquisitions will happen in the subs, and we're seeing it across the nation where these churches just don't have enough to survive.
Yeah.
We can either just die, or we can figure out a way to look at our context and say, well, who else is doing this work? What makes sense for this legacy to not fall on the wayside? Should we just go partner? Should we come together? Why both of us got to sit here and die on the corner? Would it be easier? It's one neighborhood in Nashville. I kid you not. In one block, it is 5 churches. Like, literally, it's like a circle. And I'm just sitting there like, and they all know each other.
And everybody got 12 parking
And
spaces.
everybody got 12 parking spaces. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think in the future we have to be honest, especially for those of you who are preparing your succession strategy. Maybe you do not need to bring in some highfalutin, somebody some pastor or something. Maybe your succession strategy should be merger.
Yeah.
Take the pressure off yourself from trying to fit into a different context of succession is all I'm saying. And embrace that God has a certain calling and a context for you that may require you to shift in a way that you didn't anticipate, but that's relevant to your need. That's where we leave it.
That's good. That's good. Well, listen, we've addressed the Drewski.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask about it no more. We've done it.
Let's wrap it up.
We're done.
It's over.
And we're moving.
And we're moving.
And we're moving.
You stayed at this mountain long enough. It's time to get moving. Listen, it's time for us to get moving tonight. Listen, we got 2 things to do. As always, we want to give you an opportunity to give. We want to give you an opportunity to sow so that we can continue and further this work. There are some great things coming down the pipe. The Life Table is expanding, reaching more and more people each and every week. The founder of the Life Table, D. Moy, we believe that God is doing some special things in his life. And so we want to make sure that this work can continue to go forth. And so we ask that you would consider being a blessing to the Life Table so that we can continue to have these great conversations, so that we can live into digital discipleship. Secondly, we need you to follow.
Yes.
We need you to like us. We need you to share. We need you to subscribe.
Aggregation.
A part of the aggregation.
Aggregation.
I don't know if we saints and ain'ts no more. Somebody might already have that. But aggregation, we want you to be a part. Be with us.
It's
Join the
great
fellowship
grand aggregation.
and come hang out with us. Essentially, so you can always know what's going on.
Yeah.
If this is your first season catching up with us, listen, we got more episodes that we've already done. Listen, if you're just now catching up with us, go back and watch all of our other episodes. I think it'll be helpful to you. You're going to get to know us a little bit better. But listen, follow us, be a part of the crew, and we'd be so glad to, connect with you digitally or in person, whatever you desire for it to be. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to D. Moy, and he's going to give us our good word as we prepare to go down from this place.
Psalms number Jonathan McReynolds will give us our benediction tonight. He says, may your struggles keep you near the cross. May your troubles keep you near the cross. May your struggles show that you need God. May your battles end the way they should. And may your whole life prove that God is good. And may you continue the work so much so that it makes somebody curious about Jesus. Yes. Go in peace, beloved.
Wake up in the morning, only God did that. Brought me through the storm, only God did that.